This is the WrestleBread Podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 134 of the WrestleBread Podcast. So we just had Survivor Series, and you know, it didn't feel exciting. The build up to Survivor Series was very lacking, and it felt pointless. There really wasn't any, stakes involved. It felt, unimportant. And there was like a vast difference between Full Gear and Survivor Series. And Survivor Series just kind of felt like slightly back burner. And it's a shame because WWE does have talented people. They definitely have the creativity to create meaningful feuds and matches and moments and stuff. And you kind of walk away from Survivor Series like, And I know there's people who feel as though it was a good pay-per-view. And if you feel that way, then hey, I'm happy for you. However, this brand versus brand stuff, it's pointless. They had a battle royale where, I realized it's only one winner, which means people from the same brand is going to turn on each other and eliminate each other. And then on top of that, what was the point of it all? It was a celebration of The Rock's 25th anniversary. We had a sighting of Vince McMahon and the Golden Egg. I felt like there was a storybook or a fairy tale that was about to happen or something. I was waiting for, Jack and the Beanstalk or something like that with this whole situation. And then on top of that, it felt like it was poorly done. If this was supposed to be a celebration of The Rock's 25th anniversary, I mean, this is one of the most popular wrestlers that you have, and you want to celebrate 25 years since his debut, I would have think that you would have been announcing it, a while longer. You would have put it in the papers and the news and stuff like that this is the 25th anniversary. But I guess, he didn't want to get the publicity of it all because there was an expectation for The Rock to show up or something if you're going to have a celebration. That's like throwing a birthday party for someone and they don't show up. Like not even a phone call, not even, a text message or anything. All that showed up was a stupid prop that they said was worth $100 million that was left in a plastic case by itself in a room at an arena in Brooklyn. And Brooklyn already showed itself. Okay. We have seen that, and this is coming from someone. I live in Philly. Hey, I will say the same thing about my own city. You should not leave. And that's probably in any city. Don't leave no $100 million egg and you want to sit there and boast about it by itself in a city. So, and then on top of that, Survivor Series was brought to you by Pizza Hut and Snickers and Skittles and all the other sponsors that they kind of threw in there. It felt lacking. Sometimes there's these moments in WWE where I just watch it and I feel like I am not the intended audience of this. It just feels like not even my 12-year-old son, would be the intended audience. It just feels like like my intelligence is being insulted, if that makes sense. I don't feel entertained. I don't feel like I walked away from it like, wow, that made me not really feel good, but I was entertained about it. It just took my mind off of things, like a bit of an escape. When you go to events or shows or you listen to music, you watch a movie, you watch a TV show or something like that, you kind of want to be, you want to dive into the story. You want to get into the world. And, I guess you really shouldn't get that from pro wrestling, but you just want to get something out of it. You know, you want to get some type of entertainment. And not saying that Survivor Series was a complete disaster, because it wasn't a complete disaster. However, it's just they didn't try their best. That wasn't their best, and it feels like they didn't even try their best. It just feels like they threw things together because they know they just want to just keep things afloat. You know, the Titanic is sinking, and they are standing in the back of the ship, you know, acting like the ship is still floating. That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like someone who had an essay that was due 2 o'clock in the morning, and then they started writing it literally at midnight, and, you know, starts adding double spaces and periods and extra words and everything to meet the word count. Yes, I am talking from my own previous experience with that, thanks to the lovely rules of college where you have to cram everything. But you don't really expect that from a billion-dollar company to kind of act like the college student who decided to wait till last minute to complete their project or their final essay. And with Survivor Series, it just felt like that. It didn't really feel special, especially the fact that you attached The Rock's name to this. You had The Rock Battle Royale and all this other stuff. And, you know, people started thinking, even including myself, that he was going to actually turn up. If you're going to, you know, throw his name out there and talk about his movie and all this other stuff, you would think he would be there or something like that. And then as the night go on, and there was this expectation that he was going to show up, you know, at for Roman Reigns match. And then they dropped the bomb that Brock Lesnar's suspension has been lifted. So it's like, okay, maybe he comes out, and then The Rock comes out. And then, well, once they mentioned that possibly Brock will show up, I knew that The Rock wasn't going to show up, because Brock Lesnar was supposed to be whipping that ass since WrestleMania 30. And I have the merchandise to prove that. And it's like, I get that he probably was filming a movie. That's what I think I read, the reason why he didn't show up. But he could at least sent a message. You know, the technology these days. You could have recorded a video a week ago, you know, come in via satellite like you used to when you first went to Hollywood. And that would have really made sense. But the Rock Battle Royale was actually a promotion for Pizza Hut, which, truthfully, Pizza Hut really wasn't a thing. It hasn't been a thing really like that since the 90s, when, you know, they had the Book It and all this other stuff. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you really missed out on a good time during Pizza Hut. But it's just frustrating. It really is. And let's just get right into it. And normally I take notes when I'm watching stuff, you know, so that I can remember like special things that happened during the pay-per-view. And I'll be 100% honest, like I stopped taking notes after a while because it was just like, it was ridiculous. Now last week I put out episode 133 Saturday morning because they were last minute with the teams for the 5-on-5 men's elimination match. And then I tune in on Sunday and I see that they added that battle royale. And not only they added the battle royale, it was supposed to be on the kickoff. And then they switched it to the main show and they put Damian Priest versus Shinsuke Nakamura on the pre-show. And I actually like had an excitement for that match. I thought that would be a good match. And once I saw that it was moved to the kickoff, I was like, all right, they're not going to get as much time as needed. And, you know, first of all, during the pre-show, Vince McMahon, we see a limo pull up. And there was all this hype about The Rock and stuff. You see a bunch of people standing outside. And I thought it was The Rock. You know, I was like, okay, you know, we're going to make this exciting. You know, The Rock's going to show up because you made this whole thing about The Rock. And out pops Vince McMahon. Now, while I am shocked that Vince McMahon showed up to his event, I mean, I would have figured he would be there already, ripping up the scripts of the writers, literally minutes before the show, and changing finishes and wondering who is ready to get released again. But Vince McMahon shows up, and then he goes, wait a minute. First of all, it was all the people clapping like they saw Jesus, hoping that they weren't getting phone calls from what's his name, Nick Khan next. And so then he pulled up his finger and he went back to the limo, and I thought, okay, here is The Rock. Maybe I really shouldn't have had expectations for all this, and I probably wouldn't have felt the way I did, after watching Survivor Series. But, it's their fault. You don't say The Rock, you don't say it's the 25th anniversary of The Rock and then bring props from his movie and promote the movie like so heavily like you did with the Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead, whatever that movie was called, with Batista in it, and not have the guy like say anything at all or even show up. So I was like, all right, here comes The Rock. And then he pulls out an egg. And, I'm sitting here like, what the hell is this? And so, of course, it's this the prop that's been like being used to promote this movie that is on Netflix. I thought it was in theaters, but it's on Netflix. And so, Vince McMahon was so proud of that damn egg. There was a lot of jokes floating around that's why they cut so many people so Vince McMahon could buy the egg. People was like, well, won't he pawn the egg so he can bring back some talent? This, that, and the third. And yeah, the Survivor Series is brought to you by The Rock and Pizza Hut. So we get to the pre-show. Damian Priest versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, this was pretty good starting off. It was. And then we had Rick Boogs, who decided to start playing the guitar. And I was a bit confused because I was like, well, where's the guitar plugged in at that we can like hear it like that? Because normally you plug in your guitar so you could be heard. But whatever. Let's pretend we don't know what's going on here. So Boogs kept playing the guitar, and Damian Priest kept getting distracted with it. And they were going back and forth. And then Boogs just kept playing the guitar to the point that Priest got very irritated. He left out of the ring, took the guitar, snapped it over his leg, and then he hit Boogs with the guitar and then did the same thing with Nakamura and got disqualified. And so Shinsuke Nakamura wins the match, which is what I had predicted, because I was being very biased because I really like Shinsuke Nakamura. But I really didn't expect... I knew a DQ was coming because that's kind of like the quota that happens with WWE. They love their DQs and stuff like that as much as AEW love their roll-ups. But I really didn't expect it for Survivor Series because we're doing this whole brand versus brand thing. Even though there's like no stakes whatever as to which brand wins, it'll be like pretty much bragging rights. Which, come to think of it, they really should change Survivor Series to bragging rights, because it's pretty much what this is. This is nothing but bragging rights. But I really didn't think like, you would get yourself disqualified and kind of lose it for your brand. And this is just another argument why this brand versus brand thing doesn't work, because no one cares. And is exactly what I was predicting that would happen actually happened. Nobody cares about their brand. Everybody just came from the other show. Like even Charlotte had switched from Raw to SmackDown, and Becky switched from SmackDown to Raw. So it's like, there is no brand loyalty because everyone either came from NXT, the black and gold, or they came from Raw or SmackDown, but no one really has like any loyalty to their own show. But I was a little upset that it ended in a DQ. I was hoping that it would be a good match and it would end it in a actual finish. Whether it was clean or not, I was hoping that it would, go into an actual finish. So after that, we had the opening. First of all, this is why I keep saying take these rumors with a grain of salt. Even though it was Fightful who said it, apparently they got their source, whoever was their source, got it wrong, because it was rumored by them that Charlotte versus Becky Lynch would close the show, and Roman Reigns would open the show, which when I first heard that, I was like, I don't think that's true. I don't remember Roman Reigns ever opening a pay-per-view. Like, unless it was against Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar is famous for wanting to open a pay-per-view so he can leave. I was like, but Roman Reigns has always been main event if he can be. So I kind of didn't like, I kind of figured that they wouldn't do that because I was like, I think they would put Roman Reigns for main event because, you know, this is the perfect opportunity to make a main event and nobody will cry about it. So the opening match was actually Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. And I don't know what Becky Lynch was wearing. Now, on the average woman, yes, it would look really good. However, it doesn't really fit Becky Lynch's character for her to wear the Britney Spears tight leather bodysuit with the, I mean, I can't even call it thigh-high boots because they came to a point and I don't know. I don't know if she was trying to be like a phoenix or something like that. I really didn't get it. I know that, you know, she was rocking the red because of Raw, but I didn't get the outfit at all. But this was pretty hard hitting. It looked like they actually hit each other a few times. There was a kick that looked like it connected between Becky Lynch and Charlotte. And it looked like Charlotte went and got some payback. She roughed up Becky Lynch when she got back in the ring after a while. But yeah, it was a bunch of hard hitting between the women. You know, definitely working this whole feud, whether it's real or not, between these two. Becky tried to do a figure four, but it wasn't a figure four. It was Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee called it out right away because normally they like to say, oh, she doesn't have all of it. No, Pat McAfee straight up was like, that's not a figure four. That's more like a heel lock or something, a modified heel lock. So I was like, thank you. Also, Charlotte missed her moonsault as well. It just was like, I don't know what was going, like, the match was really good as far as like, you don't know if these two are like really beefing or not. But yeah, it was just some moments that was just kind of lacking. I wish that Becky had really got the figure four in correctly, but no. And I didn't like the finish. So at the end, Charlotte Flair tried to do a roll up and she grabbed the rope and got caught. And then Becky Lynch turned around and did the roll up and she grabbed the rope in the perfect time that the ref didn't catch it. And so Becky Lynch won. And afterwards, Charlotte was sitting there like, you got me there. So it's just like for these two to have like this brutal fight, whether it was real or not, you know, because even Becky came out and said, you know, talked about the feud between her and Charlotte with different media sites and stuff. I really didn't expect for Charlotte to sit there and be like, you got me there, buddy. Shucks, you got me there. I would have expected for, you know, Charlotte to attack Becky Lynch or something and then, you know, walk away. If you had someone roll you up and held onto the rope, technically they really didn't beat you. But, you know, these matches are kind of like one-off until, you know, WrestleMania or something like that when the lines kind of blur with these brand versus brand. So, but it would have made sense for them to kind of fight each other after the bell so that, you know, it would have completed this whole, it would add another notch to this feud between these two women. And then after that was the men's 5v5, Team Raw, Seth Rollins, Finn Bálor, Kevin Owens, Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley versus SmackDown, Drew McIntyre, Xavier Woods, Jeff Hardy, Happy Corbin, and Sheamus. And so exactly what I said was the issue with these SmackDown versus Raw matches, especially when you have heels and faces on the same team together. You kind of have these, you know, back and forth situations within the team where they'd be like, F the brand. And that's exactly what Kevin Owens did. Kevin Owens walked out of the ring and he got counted out himself, just like how Seth Rollins got himself eliminated purposely the year before. And so it's just like this brand versus brand thing is stupid. They could have easily had, Team Rollins versus Team McIntyre or whatever, and just had people recruit. Like, I really hope they just get away from this brand versus brand after a while. Kind of like when they started to do the wild card and all that stuff. You could use the wild card here and create the teams. You could have easily had done something along those lines. You could have had Kevin Owens on the other team because he doesn't like Seth Rollins. You could have had a team of people who just don't like Seth Rollins versus Seth Rollins and whoever is cool enough or fine enough to be on his team, who doesn't have beef with him, I guess I should say, be on his team. And so it was a bit defeating because it was just like, what's the point of all this? I really wish that they take Xavier Woods' idea and the losing team will become 1 through 5 for the Royal Rumble. It would make perfect sense. Then it would make sense for why people are fighting. Because if I don't feel like fighting for my own brand because I'm beefing with, like, for example, with Kevin Owens, if I'm beefing with Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley, I probably would walk out too, and I'd be like, I don't care about this. I'm not getting anything out of this. I am happy that they weren't wearing like t-shirts and stuff like that. So you can sit there and say, oh, okay, they from SmackDown. Oh, okay, they're from Raw, like they did in the Battle Royale. But yeah, this it was back to the regular elimination versus elimination here. And like I said, this match proved that there is no stakes with this because we saw Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre started fighting, and they both got eliminated by countout, which was like, whatever. King Woods first. It was actually Happy Corbin that got eliminated by pinfall, and then it was King Woods who was eliminated by Bobby Lashley with the Hurt Lock, and then Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre were both counted out because they fought on the outside. Finn Bálor was eliminated by Sheamus. Sheamus was eliminated by Austin Theory. Austin Theory was eliminated by Jeff Hardy. And then it kind of came down to Jeff Hardy and Seth Rollins, which the crowd loved Jeff Hardy. The crowd was popping for Jeff Hardy louder than everyone else. So I thought it was going to be Jeff Hardy who would win. But in the end, it was Seth Rollins, Team Raw. Actually chose Team Raw to win too, so I was right with that prediction. And then we go to this backstage segment with Vince McMahon, who was sitting at a desk in an office, which we knew wasn't his office because it was a basic table and chair. We get a knock on the door. Vince McMahon, first of all, I don't know what's going on with Vince McMahon's voice, but he sounded like Scooby-Doo mixed with Barry White. I can't even mimic. I wish I could mimic it, but my voice really won't go there. But Roman Reigns comes in and he goes, Roman, this is an egg. It's worth $100 million. It came from your cousin, The Rock. And this is the egg that he has. It's not the real egg. I have the real egg. It's just a prop that he has, but I have the real egg. And it's worth $100 million. Look at it. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it beautiful, Roman? And then when he mentioned the $100 million egg, and Roman Reigns kind of he said, that's how much my next contract's going to be. And I was like, dude, you are not getting $100 million. If Roman Reigns get $100 million, I will be very upset. First of all, he's not getting $100 million. Let's not even entertain that idea. He's not getting $100 million. But that's what he said. Then he walks out, and everybody was like, okay, so The Rock's going to show up for Roman Reigns. Why would you tell Roman Reigns this egg came from your cousin, The Rock, and all this other stuff if that's not what was going to happen? And then after that, we had the Rock Battle Royale, the 25th anniversary of his WWE debut. But instead, it was actually a promo for Pizza Hut. The Street Profits come out with Pizza Hut, and there was this big thing. They started with pizza and everything like that. it was people in Raw and SmackDown shirts. And then that's when I realized that, wait a minute, in order for there to be a winner, that means people have to turn on each other. And really, I didn't even get what the prize was. Come to find out, it was the pizza, which don't make any sense. I mean, pizza is what you eat on Friday night when you want to watch a movie at home, not to, not to wrestle for 10, 11 minutes that this battle royal lasted and end up getting, what, three pizzas. That's about what, maybe, even if we say large pizzas, that's maybe around $40 or something like that with tax and delivery included. It's really not worth it. Now I didn't have a prediction for this because they announced this afterwards, and so after I recorded this my last episode, but I knew that Omos would win this. They even mentioned before the battle royal that he was undefeated coming in, and so I kind of figured that he would be the winner of it all. AJ Styles stayed to the outside for most of the match, which I thought was pretty smart. And then from there, a lot of SmackDown people was eliminated, so it was like maybe 8 Raw people left and like 3 SmackDown people at a certain point. We also had, I think Omos had like maybe 10, 11 eliminations, of course. Not a lot of people teamed up to go after him. Then there was this spot where there was this like tug of war with AJ, and it had, I think it was Omos and Aziz, I think it was, that was playing tug of war with AJ Styles. And that's what I think it, and then I think Dolph Ziggler came up from behind or something like that, or Apollo Crews or something, and attacks Omos, and he then let go of AJ Styles, and that's how AJ Styles gets eliminated. A lot of people were very upset that AJ Styles was in this battle royale, and the fact that he was in this pre-show, and then of course they moved it from the pre-show to the main card, but I think mainly because of the whole Rock's 25th anniversary. So then it was left was, I think it was Cesaro, Dawkins, the Street Profits actually. And then Omos eliminates all of them. And then it came down to Omos and Ricochet. And quickly after that, Ricochet was eliminated and Omos wins. And then I think he was supposed to win the pizza, and then the Street Profits grabbed it and started doing the New Day pancake thing where they threw slices of pizza to the crowd, which slices of pizza throwing to a crowd, it's a lot easier to catch a pancake than a greasy slice of pizza. Like what would you do with it? Like, I wouldn't eat it because you don't know what happened to the pizza. So, but yeah, so that was the Battle Royale, which really wasn't that exciting, especially if it's supposed to be especially in celebration of The Rock's 25th anniversary debut. For this to be like centered kind of around The Rock, this, like I keep saying, this pay-per-view was like not even that exciting. So after that, we had the Raw Tag Team Champions, RK Bro, versus the SmackDown Champions, the Usos. This was a pretty good match, a lot of back and forth between the two tag teams. RK Bro has been growing on a lot of people and really showing that they are a solid tag team. And I was going for the Usos to win because I felt that they were a tag team longer than RK Bro, so the chemistry would kind of be there. And plus, can you really trust Randy Orton if you're in a tag team with him? He has shown to turn on a lot of people. But in the end, RK Bro won, and so at that point, I think Raw had enough wins to win the night, and there really wasn't any type of prize with it. No, not even bragging rights. People didn't come out the next Raw and SmackDown. Well, people didn't come out on the next Raw saying how dominant Raw is and all that other stuff. So it just further proved that it really didn't do anything for Raw to win here. Then we go back to backstage. Vince McMahon, Adam Pearce, and Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce are talking about how good the pay-per-view is going, and I'm sitting here like, I don't know what pay-per-view you guys are watching, but we're not watching the same thing. Then Vince McMahon comes back in, and then it turns into the classic Scooby-Doo segment where the missing egg, the $100 million real egg that Vince McMahon, brought and showed off to people and told off and everything like that is missing. And so Sonya Deville, goes to call the police. Adam Pearce is to, report to Raw the next night to figure out what's going on, to tell everyone. And so now we have this whole Scooby-Doo thing of where is the golden egg. And, like I said earlier, sometimes I just wonder who is the intended audience for this, because if you're telling grown people about this whole missing egg, like I felt the same way when they did the whole singing segment with Chris Jericho and MJF. It's like, who's the intended audience? Am I really supposed to be entertained by this? Well, in this instance, sports entertained by this, because all this is pretty much like the 24/7 2021 24/7 title all over again. So of course, that is going to further take place on Raw and possibly SmackDown, of what's going to happen and everything. And then after that, we had the women's 5-on-5 elimination match with Team Raw. Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Queen Zelina going against Team SmackDown, Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi, Natalya, and Toni Storm. Carmella was the first to be eliminated when she was trying to put on the protective mask. And Toni Storm, first of all, was really showing off and everything. And then we started to get with the dumbness, with Shotzi, Baszler, and Natalya turning on Sasha Banks, and they kept her from returning to the ring. And they said she was eliminated by countout, but I don't know how. I have to check the rule books. I swore that when someone gets back into the ring, especially when most of their body cleared underneath the rope, that they're considered back in the ring. But I don't know. I guess it must be full body or something like that. Sometimes the rules change depending on the situation. Like we had at a previous pay-per-view where it was Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley, where Rhea Ripley, I think it was Rhea, had hit Charlotte with the table, and then all of a sudden that becomes a DQ, where we had countless situations of RKOs through tables, body slams through tables, and all that other stuff. And I do not recall there being an elimination. And we also had, Shane McMahon with an elbow, from the turnbuckle to the table. And I don't recall any disqualifications for it. They didn't even go through the table. All she did was hit her with the covering of the table, and that caused for elimination. So in this instance, it seems like if your whole body didn't clear underneath the rope, you are considered counted out. So Sasha Banks was eliminated. And then it comes down to, I think Bianca Belair was the last one. And then with Sasha Banks being eliminated, then it came 3v2. And then, Bianca Belair doing what she does and eliminating Natalya with a roll-up, and then she eliminated Baszler with a pinfall, and then she did the KOD to Shotzi to win the match for Team Raw as the sole survivor, which I'm completely fine with. I originally had Team SmackDown winning this match because I kind of figured that what happened on Team SmackDown would have happened on Team Raw with people turning on each other, but as we see, this is why this brand versus brand thing doesn't work, because there's too many feuds on one brand, and all of a sudden you want people to come together like Kumbaya to go against the other side. So, the logic kind of like goes out the window here. And then we come to the main event, Big E versus Roman Reigns. And this match was pretty good. A lot of people, because of all these teasing and things like that, because earlier in the day, Kayla Braxton had mentioned that Brock Lesnar's suspension may be lifted, and so it gave the impression that Brock Lesnar was going to show up in the main event, and it's like, well, if Brock is showing up, then The Rock definitely isn't showing up. So it's all a matter of who's going to show up, and a lot of people it felt like you was waiting for the end because you wanted to see if it's The Rock or Brock who's going to show up. Because why are we doing all this and dropping all these hints if, if it's not going to happen? However, this was a good match between Big E and Roman Reigns. I am happy that Big E is getting his time in the spotlight. Truthfully, I don't know why we separated him from the New Day because he still kind of acts. He's serious, but he still slightly acts the same way that he did when he was with the New Day. Um, and so I don't know why we really separated them. However, had we figured that the Usos was gonna get involved in it and everything like that. But no, we did not get that. We got a straight up one-on-one match. Little teasers though. We saw Roman Reigns using we saw that there was a rock bottom that was used and everything. People started chanting Rocky and everything, but in the end, um, the tribal chief had won, and hitting a spear in the middle of the ring for the pin and everything like that. And that was it for Survivor Series. Now, very lackluster um, Survivor Series, I have to say. And it was all about, like, what does it all mean? Why are we doing this? Oh, and if you were wondering, the Scooby Doo mystery of who stole the egg, we found out on Raw that was actually Austin Theory who stole the egg. And instead of, getting let go or something like that, or released, because we've seen people get released from WWE for the littlest things, instead, he got a title shot on Raw. So, I guess the lesson is, folks, is, don't play by the rule. Don't play by the rules. Don't show up and be a good wrestler and do what you can and work as hard as you can. Instead, steal $100 million egg and you will get a title shot. And this is why people get upset about wins and losses in WWE. And I'm like, wins and losses don't even matter in WWE. As you see, the littlest thing, you can bump into the champion and get a title shot. And as we see here, we steal $100 million egg and instead get a title shot. But also, another thing that happened on Raw, we had a fan jump the barricade and attack Rollins as he was leaving up the entrance ramp. And first of all, crazy situation that occurred from it. So I looked into it because I'm a nosy ass person. And it was revealed that, first of all, this person has clear mental issues. And then on top of that, he was scammed by someone who allegedly was posing as Seth Rollins. And he got scammed out of a gift card and I think like $2,000, which is horrible that these things are still going on. And so he had posted on Instagram. His Instagram page is now deleted, but he posted on his Instagram stories about his name. He was related to Roman Reigns and the tribal chief and everything like that, and he attacked Seth Rollins for his family, for Roman and Rikishi and The Rock and everyone. And he said he spoke to Vince McMahon about it, and he told Vince McMahon he was supposed to like face Goldberg or something like that. It's completely insane. And it's just like, this isn't the first time that a fan hopped a barricade with WWE. It's not the first time that a fan hopped a barricade in WWE in Brooklyn as well. The last time that this situation had happened was during the Hall of Fame speech where someone had rushed during Bret Hart's Bret Hart's Hall of Fame speech with Natalya by his side. So it's just a crazy situation. And, just a little disclaimer as far as with mental health. If you feel as though you need help, get help. If you see someone who needs help, try to get them help as best as you can. Because I'm happy that the situation didn't turn out to be worse, especially with someone who believed it was Seth Rollins who scammed them. They could have easily had a knife, they could have had a gun, And on top of that, security is such a great thing with these arenas that, this fan was able to jump the barricade and run from the right side of the entrance to be able to reach Seth Rollins right then and there. Um, I don't know if they thought that maybe this was a wrestler that was coming or something like that, but still, I don't know what is going on with the security at that arena that someone was able to have that much time to get to Seth Rollins like that. Now, getting into, I didn't check out NXT 2.0 this week. And I did hear, but I did hear about the War Games match of old school versus new school. I know new school is going to win it because that's kind of the trend that we are doing here. So, I'd be fully prepared to see Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, and LA Knight to lose in a War Games match. I forgot who was on the other team. I know Braun Breaker's over there, but I forgot who else is on the other team. But yeah, I'm gonna cover War Games. I'm going to just catch up on NXT so I can figure out, get my predictions at least correct as far as who's gonna win. But I think like 90% of the people who are gonna win is new school people. If they're gonna do old school versus new school for War Games, it's gonna be all new school people. And then the rumor is that Johnny Gargano signed a week contract just so he can participate in War Games. So, it's pretty much goodbye, Johnny Gargano, from here. If you're only signing 1 week just to do War Games, that means you're not really trying to hang on to your job. But going into AEW Dynamite, first of all, the promo that we have all been waiting for, the promo war we have all been waiting for, CM Punk versus MJF. Now, I have to say, as far as, because people were making comparisons between this verbal war and the verbal war between CM Punk and Eddie Kingston. As of right now, I would say Eddie Kingston because it was very intense. Now, first of all, this is only round one between these two. And so, we don't know when this match is going to happen. If this is happening for Winter is Coming or the New Year's Bash, or if they're psychotic enough to let this drag out to Double or Nothing, which I highly doubt. But anyway, this was the first round. And my goodness, first of all, they were in Chicago. CM Punk came out because he was supposed to face QT Marshall. MJF comes out and he mentioned how for CM Punk to be such straight edge that he looks like a meth addict, and then mentioned how CM Punk does pipe bombs, but he drops nukes and everything like that, and just a lot of zingers on here. CM Punk telling MJF that when it comes down to it, you're nothing more than a less famous Miz, saying I'm in your head. It probably has something to do with the fact you got a poster of me on your wall. And then he mentioned how he was able to shut up MJF without saying a word. MJF called CM Punk nostalgia and accused him of kissing ass because of, all the people that he tried to put over and everything like that. Like, they both went there, and I really loved it. This didn't seem scripted. This seems very genuine of two people who didn't like each other. MJF calling CM Punk, basically John Cena, and then he mentioned how he's always number two. He said difference is I can see you and things like that, and he made a reference to Triple H. CM Punk mentioning the only way that MJF could be relevant is if Tony Khan has a daughter, he can marry into the family. Also, CM Punk mentioning, like, you're not even one of the four pillars. You have been replaced by Britt Baker. Like, oh man, it was so good between these two. And the fans pretty much ate it up. We all ate it up. That was a really good promo segment between the two. And it's crazy because that promo opened up the show. Normally, AEW opens up with a match, but this promo segment went for 21 minutes. First of all, this could have went for an hour, and I would have been fine with it because it was that good. It really works when there is a promo between two people, and you can't tell if it's real or if it's not real. I mean, we had this happen in WWE before, of course, and where like the promo was really good between two people. It's just like you can create a whole segment. First of all, Stone Cold and anyone, The Rock and anyone, and WWE doesn't realize like not everyone is really good at cutting promos. Not everyone should be cutting a very long promo, especially when they do the monologues that they love to do. It felt like first of all, like, I'm happy that we're getting this CM Punk. A lot of people felt as though CM Punk has gotten soft and stuff like that, and they were all waiting for the pipe bomb CM Punk, which we probably won't really get, to be honest, because pipe bomb CM Punk was unhappy and he was ready to leave, and he wanted to say what he wanted to say, and he was going against people who he really didn't like. Whereas this CM Punk, he's very happy, he is in a very good place mentally and physically and everything like that, so he's not going to drop pipe bombs because, he's happy. You can't sit there and talk shit about a company if you really like the company. That's why I was waiting for him to go up against people who can cut promo, who, will go there with him, like Eddie Kingston and MJF. And so where we can get CM Punk to kind of like start doing zingers and stuff like that, like he used to. So I'm very excited for this feud between these two, because this is going to be like nothing but zingers and promos that we're going to get. And, it's just like, I'm ready for it. Like, we don't need to see this in the ring just yet. I would love to have this word feud between these two last as long as it can. But this was a really good promo between these two. And then we get to the other highlight of Dynamite, which was Colt Cabana versus Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan he's not even a heel, because people call it a heel Daniel Bryan. He's not a heel. He's just being real. He's no longer Mr. Yes Movement. He is, I am a professional wrestler. I'm finally able to be a professional wrestler. I want to face the best professional wrestlers. And so I want everyone to get on my level. You can't really like be mad about something like that. But oh my gosh, Daniel Bryan in any type of situation, babyface, heel, or, this not really anti-hero, but, the person who he is now is just like chef's kiss, yo. That really shows how good, not only the fact that he's really good in the ring, but he's so good outside of the ring as far as like this character work. Like, it's unbelievable. So, of course, Daniel Bryan wanted to kick Colt Cabana's head in, which of course he did. He brought back the word fickle, which is so good, I have to say. I miss the word fickle because it brings back to his days as Captain Planet when he was going against Kofi Kingston. Of course, Hangman Page comes out to fight him, and he's like, look, of course you're going to want to fight me after I just fought and all this other stuff. And he mentioned how they're going to Atlanta, and there's another Dark Order person who's from Atlanta. I don't know if this was done purposely, that we are, going through the Dark Order like this in their own hometown. But yeah, it's very interesting of when we're going to get this match, officially, and what we are going to do. I really hope we keep the title on Hangman Page, because he just got it. Like, the biggest task for him to do, not only the fact that he defeated Kenny Omega, but for him to defeat Bryan Danielson as well. So I really hope that's what happens, and it just takes Bryan Danielson over the edge, and we will get like more and more of this guy who's like, I'm a professional wrestler. And especially once he gets defeated by Hangman Page, for him to say, you're not a professional wrestler. I don't know how you defeated me, this, that, and the third, and just have him like relentlessly go after Hangman Page. I think that would be a great feud for these two to have, for Hangman Page to kind of also like defend the fact, like, not only does he have the title, but is he a good champion? Is he a good pro wrestling champion? And for Bryan Danielson to be that first person to really challenge him on that. Not the fact like, I want your title, but it's like, not only am I coming at you as far as a champion, I'm coming at you as a wrestler, because you are nothing but excuses. And basically as if Bryan Danielson is saying that Hangman Page got lucky defeating Kenny Omega, and something like that will not happen to him. So I'm really like seeing like the little things that I'm seeing in this feud between these two, especially if they are going to keep the title on Hangman Page and let it further get Bryan Danielson upset as far as, well, you're not a real professional wrestler and all this other stuff, and how he will eventually get beat by Hangman Page. That's what I really hope that we go for. Now, overall, Dynamite really wasn't the best. It has its moments. Like, Dynamite is like really up and down throughout the show. It does have really good moments, and for it to be 2 hours, it tends to go a little fast, especially Rampage. Rampage goes very fast. So this Dynamite was pretty good. We also ended with the 8-man tag match, Cody Rhodes and Death Triangle versus Andrade, Malachi Black, and FTR. First of all, the fact that Cody Rhodes is booed so heavily with everyone, and he like still wants to be a babyface because of his daughter. It's a very weird that he wants to stay a babyface, but it's so good because he's turning into basically John Cena. Like, we want him to turn heel. He needs to turn heel. He has all these little traits and things that he do to show that he may turn heel, but then he's like, no, I'm going to be the righteous person and stuff like that. And so it's just driving the fans crazy. First of all, he got John Cena'd. He threw his weight belt into the audience, and then someone caught it and they threw it back to the ring, and I fell out. It definitely gave me vibes of when John Cena had enough courage and balls to show up in ECW and called himself throwing the t-shirt to the crowd multiple times. Luckily, Cody Rhodes, he looked very confused, and Andrade grabbed the belt and threw it underneath the ring, which the crowd cheered even more. There were people who was like, why would they throw it in the ring? This, that, and the third, it could hurt someone. And I'm like, Cody Rhodes threw it into the damn crowd. That's a weight belt. And he threw it into the crowd. Luckily, people are paying attention. He could easily have thrown it in the crowd and, hit someone who wasn't even paying attention. It's just like, not really like baseball, but similar to baseball. Someone hit the ball, it goes into the crowd. You better hope that you're paying attention when that ball goes to you, especially them foul balls, them zingers that will go into the crowd. So yeah, Cody Rhodes is the one who threw the belt into the crowd. If they threw it back, it hit the ropes. Luckily, it didn't hit anyone, but he's the one who threw the belt first, so pipe down. But in the end, we had FTR, Black, and Andrade who wins. And, it's just like, we also had a face-off verse of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. First of all, I don't know who said it, so I wish I can give credit to the person, but they said, NRA spelled backwards is Arn. I cracked up at that one. But yeah, of course, Lucha Bros, Rey Fenix just continue to show us that he is not a human being. Malachi Black towards the end has sprayed a mist into Pac's face, and then Andrade has scored a pinfall victory. So AEW does have this weird thing with everyone is in a faction or a team or trios or something like that, and sometimes that can get pretty annoying that, it feels like high school because everyone's in a clique, and if you're not in a clique, then you're like kind of, floating around out there. But I have to say, there are some people who we do not see on TV. We have Rhea, who is coming back to Rampage to face Britt Baker for the title. If she she's not facing her for the title. If she beats Britt Baker, then she gets a title shot. And Britt Baker has yet to defeat Riho. So more likely Riho is going to win and then gets a title shot, I believe, at New Year's Smash. I'm not quite sure where the title shot is taking place at. And then, of course, we got more of the TBS Championship Tournament match. Thunder Rosa versus Jamie Hayter. Britt Baker went to interfere, and then she realized maybe I should let Thunder Rosa win, because if Thunder Rosa ends up being TBS champion, she won't be going after my title. So I thought that was a little nice detail that they kind of threw in there. But yeah, weird week of wrestling with Survivor Series and everything like that. So now we are working towards War Games, and so this will be the first official pay-per-view event for the colorful NXT 2.0. I mean, we had the Halloween Havoc and everything like that, but this will be the first official takeover event, quote unquote, for the NWA NXT 2.0. So we'll see how this is going to turn out. We still got the black and gold people still there. So as far as quality of matches, I think it will slightly still be there, but with all these new people and, debauches and everything like that, I'm not quite sure how everything is going to go. So that's it for the Wrestling Court podcast. This episode might come out a little later than usual because of the Thanksgiving holiday. By the time this comes out, it'll be after Thanksgiving. So I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, that you are safe and full and everything like that. As far as me, I don't plan to really, I'm cooking, but I was supposed to go over someone's house, but the plans didn't fall through. So, I'm going to be cooking, something instead. I'm not going full out like I normally do, but I'll be cooking a little something. But let me give shout out. Shout out to Julian and Rob Bass from Wrestling Core Podcast and AlternativeMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris from We Talk Next, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show and is also the host of the 3 and Out podcast. If you're interested in football, definitely check that out. Nando and Larry from Half K Podcast, Devin Feast from Clark Street Wrestling. Also special shout outs to Straight Talk Wrestling, Circle of Debate, Top Rope Wrestling Talk, and Marks with Mikes. Coming up next week, we will be doing a prediction for War Games. I'm going to definitely try to keep up with NXT 2.0 to see what we are working with as far as this takeover show. I don't know, this might be the least exciting show, maybe. We'll have to see. Because I don't know, just got that feeling that, like I said, the newbies are going to be the winners that's going to walk out here. Plus, this is going to be more likely the last match of Johnny Gargano in the NXT and WWE, so we'll see what's going to happen with him, if he's going to show up, when, where, and, where specifically, and when. But he can easily just show up anywhere, since his contract is running out instead of him being released. Be sure to hop on Twitter, follow me at JDC137, that's JAYDEE letter C137. You can also find the link in the profile to follow me on Instagram, TikTok as well. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and also Twitch. I took a hiatus and I am back. I'm starting to get a schedule down. I realize I can't really do weekends like I had wanted to, but I will be back on Tuesday with Far Cry 6. So if you are interested in watching that, be sure to follow me on Twitter and I will tweet when I go live. You can also find the podcast on Twitter at WrestleBread, and you find a link in the profile for Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, which I know I keep saying it, but last week, unfortunately, my family was sick, and so I really couldn't do much. So I'm going to try to start putting out videos pretty soon, get them at least recorded this upcoming weekend, and start working on the YouTube channel as well. But yeah, be sure to leave a review. Let me know your thoughts, how you feel about Survivor Series. How would you book Survivor Series to make it a lot better? Me personally, I loved, like I said before, Xavier Woods' idea of the losing team become the first 5 numbers of the Royal Rumble. Kind of gives you a little bit more to fight for versus, letting your own teammate get eliminated or counted out or something like that, like we have seen before. So thank you so much for listening, and until next time, guys, peace.